Welcome back to Lower Keys Living, everybody. Sorry, it's been a couple of weeks since I have posted, pulled the boat out of the water, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. But it has been a great summer and fall season so far. So many days just like this one where the water is super clear, super calm, very little wind, just perfect days to be out on the water. So I was racking up the hours on the boat, so it needed some maintenance, and I'll show you what I did on that here in a little bit. But here, I noticed off in the distance there is a frigate bird working the same spot for a long time. So I decided to troll over that way. You look, I'm in the middle of a broken weed patch. If you watch the water, you can see big clumps of weed going by. There wasn't a firm weed line on this particular day, but there you can see that frigate bird on the left. So I passed this area going one direction, didn't pick anything up. So went a little further, came back, and the frigate bird was still working the same spot. So I trolled right past him again and got something on, but I actually thought it was a big clump of weeds the way it was acting. The pole was bent over, but nothing really fighting, which is disappointing because I was hoping to get something big off that frigate bird. But if you look out here in the distance, directly between the engines, a little turbulence. Back there you can see, and it was really looking like a ball of weeds just pulling along the surface as I was bringing this in. And even at this point, I'm just cranking in, kept the boat in gear just to keep my other trolling lines out and straight. But really thought this was just a clump of weeds till it got a little bit closer, and then I could see it was a small fish. Definitely not what I was targeting. But at least it was a fish on, gave me some hope for the area for this particular trip. But this ended up being a small Amico jack. You can tell by the little black band, diagonal band across their eye. They're good eating. They're small, and you'll find them in the weed lines, but they are really good eating, especially if you get some bigger ones. We use these to fry up for fish tacos quite frequently. And this is a decent size one, but threw this one back. If I've been out for a long day, haven't caught any bigger game fish that I'm targeting, I will keep a couple of these just for dinner. He just jumped right out of my hand, but this guy was lucky because not what I was targeting on this particular day, and he got to go back for another day. But again, nice little Amico jack there, but don't ignore those. Are always in the weed lines. If you troll slow, you can pick those up pretty easily. Here, this is the very next night. A little windier, a little choppier, but wasn't bad. But I found a pallet. It was out drifting about halfway between the Fred Perry and the Wilkes-Barre off of Cudjoe. And my first pass by got something on. When it first hit the reel, the drag was spinning, so I thought I had something big on. I was hoping for a wahoo underneath that pallet. But after a couple of reels, the fight really died on this one. So I was actually worried it was a barracuda, but then it did pick up. It kept going across. But if you get a barracuda on there, they'll usually fight for a little bit, but then they just give up, and you're pulling in dead weight most of the time. You might get a little extra fight as they come up along the boat, but by and large, you can always tell when you got a barracuda on. So at this point, still a little tugging, but I knew it wasn't fighting as hard as it initially was, whereas a wahoo is going to fight hard all the way to the boat. So it wasn't a wahoo. This stage, I was hoping for maybe a small blackfin tuna or skipjack tuna, getting it in, but I was still curious to what to see. But here at this point, I noticed it is a bonita. So bonita are great. They're fun to catch, great fighting little fish, but you cannot eat these. It is just a salty, fishy yuck. It's the best way to describe it. So this guy, I tossed him back. I do keep a few of these. I always have some in my freezer that I strip up for putting on my lures, using strip bait on the back end of my lures when I'm trolling. And I also use these in my crab traps, and they're also great for deep dropping because they are so oily. You get them down there, they put that oil down and that still water at the bottom, and they help bring other fish in. So at the same time, I decided to make another pass by that pallet. And as soon as the lures went by, the line went off again. This one took off, was really screaming. So had something that was fighting a little bit harder. Here, you watch that rod on the left, you'll see that rod keep going down with that fish pulling on it. The one on the right, that's just going because I'm cranking that one and trying to get that lure out of the way. Because this fish was just going back and forth across the back of the boat. And I was trying to clear lines because I had 4 trolling lines out. I had 2 diving lures and then the 2 surface lures on each side of the boat. So trying to avoid a mass tangle while I was bringing this one in. because it was a little windy, it's a little rockier than it looks here. I've said before, just for safety, when I've got a big fish on and it's rocking and roll like this, I do put the boat in neutral. But when I do that, those lines tend to get wrapped around the boat, different directions. And yep, indeed, on this one, I ended up with a massive mess of lines at the end of this. As hard as I did work to try and keep this one from getting tangled up. But here you could see, actually could see what this one was. And this ended up being a really nice skipjack tuna, which are delicious eating fish. They're right up there. I prefer them baked and grilled over blackfin tuna. The blackfin tuna we do a lot of sashimi and sushi with, but when we're cooking them, I love these skipjack tunas, and this was a nice one. Right here, I'm just trying to work it over and under around some of their lines, trying to reduce the tangle that inevitably I ended up with anyway. But again, super nice fish on a beautiful night out here. So got this one on, and this was the last evening that I had the boat on the water. We started getting some stormy weather, and I needed to get the 100-hour service on the Yamahas done, get that done. But again, there's that nice little skipjack. So decided to pull the boat after this one, and I've been doing a lot of maintenance work on the boat. So this is the big reason I decided to get the maintenance done on the boat now, pull the boat out of the water. You know, there's Hurricane Melissa that was hovering in that area for a few days, and we were just getting the outer bands. It got super windy down here, so not great boating days. You can see this was the following day, just 23 mile per hour winds. And I will go out on rough, choppy days, but not like this. It's just not comfortable in my boat. If you had a bigger boat. But here's some of the stuff I decided to get done. The pressure washing, polish, wax, saltwater pump, new macerator for the fish locker, and I ended up polishing and waxing my T-top chrome. And then here, I really wanted to get the boat clean, a lot of oxidation, so I polished it. On the left, you can see where I'd already polished it, and the oxidation here on my yellow paint all the way down, that yellow clear coat finish on there, gel coat. So decided to spend a time, did a whole coat of polish, stripping off that off the oxidation, and I ended up waxing the whole boat. And then another thing I ended up doing, and I want to say thanks to Raising Cane, one of our YouTube followers, for making the suggestion, I installed one of these remote controlled or remote kill switches. I've got one that as soon as you hit the water, it will shut your engines off. Others, you can push the button, but I've got four kill switches that are part of that. So everybody on board can have one, but just an extra safety step for when I'm out on the water alone on those rough days. But in the meantime, while I've had the boat out of the water doing all the maintenance work, I am still on the water almost every day, and I've been doing a lot of lobstering. The lobsters this time of year, the tourist crowds are way down. This is our slow season down here. Weather's cooled off, the water temperature's cooled off, and the lobstering in the bay has just been phenomenal the last week to 10 days. So I've been out on the paddleboard quite a bit. Some of the other videos I've showcased this paddleboard. This is a Live catamaran paddleboard. I love this thing. And again, they are expensive. I got really lucky and put a bid on one at a silent auction about 2 years ago and got it for an amazing price. And turned out I think I was the only person that bid on it, so I could have gotten it for less, but a sweet deal, because man, I do not have good balance. I am not graceful at all, but I can walk around on this thing comfortably. And you see how clear the water is. This old tractor tire, this has been out here for as long as I've been down here, and I'm surprised it hasn't filled up, but this is a great little spot. I always check for lobsters. Not allowed to take them out of it because it's artificial habitat, but I can see a few small lobster antennas, but usually it's pretty packed. This is also a favorite place for nurse sharks. I think nurse sharks come in and clean out that tire of lobsters, and then they just curl up in there and sleep. So there are a few lobsters in there, but they were cleaned out, so I got a feeling a nurse shark was in there somewhat recently. Also came across these guys today coming out here. Been seeing more and more of them around, which is a good sign for a healthy bay. A couple of these horseshoe crabs. I think they are in a post-mating nap right now. If you look, you see some of that cloudy stuff you saw leading up to this and right around those, that's algae that grows when we get the warmer water. And typically this time of year, we've got a lot of it, but water stayed fairly cool this year, and we haven't had as much of that building up in here. Here, this is one of my favorite little channel ledges that I lobster on, and this is where I've been lobstering a lot. There's a A lot of great spots around Cudjoe Bay that are cut like this. Nice deep ledges with lots of jaggedness that are just packed with lobsters. And here you can see the edge of the reef. It goes from about a foot deep all the way down to 8 to 15 feet deep in this section of channel in here. I think I showed one video a year or two ago in here, and I think we counted 30 some odd keeper sized lobsters in this little stretch of about 30 feet. So it's a great little spot. This is where I came out today. And unfortunately, I did not have my GoPro mount mask with me, so I didn't get underwater footage as I was lobstering in here. But I did get 5 nice lobsters out of here in a short amount of time, and I'll show you those here in a little bit. But this is it. This is just one of those ideal channels. Not every channel is great for lobstering, but this gives you an idea of the ledges and stuff that tend to hold lobsters. Some are a lot more gradual, and I'll show you an example. Like the channel that leads into our place is not great for it, but here, these are the 5 lobsters that I picked right out of here. This is just heading back down towards our channel. So you see, I'm up on that really shallow ledge at about a foot of water, and then it just gradually slopes down. There are no ledges in here. And this section only gets down to about 6 feet deep, but again, gradual over time. I think just the position on here, it's filled in with sand. So not a good lobstering spot. So if you want to lobster channels, you got to search out the good ones. This was the smallest lobster I got, but I wanted to show you just measuring, he might have been about a 1/4 inch over the minimum size. So he was a keeper, but that was the smallest one that we got in there today. But again, love lobstering. I'm on the water every day, even when the boats are out of the water getting maintenance done. So there's my 5 lobster tails. Thanks for watching. I've been out red fishing. Can't wait to show you those from the flats boat. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week on Lower Keys Living.